The New York Mets have made a trade. Not a big trade, a minor trade that could have some impact on this team, as the New York Mets acquired Jordan Yamamoto from the Miami Marlins in exchange for young prospect Federico Polanco. So I think I said his name right, but in this video I'm going to talk about the Yamamoto trade, what it means for the Mets. Then we're going to talk about the pursuit of Trevor Bauer, where things are reportedly standing right now, and what the Mets are trying to do to finish off the deal. If you guys like this video going over the latest Mets moves and Mets news / rumors, make sure to leave a like, comment down below. What are your thoughts about the Yamamoto trade? He had a bad 2020, but he has had good moments in his career. There are some other positives about Yamamoto that we will get into later in this video. Also, let me know what you think about the latest Trevor Bauer rumors and how things are going with the Mets, because right now it really looks like it's between the Mets and the Dodgers. And even if you guys don't want Bauer, I don't think you want to let him go to a division rival, and you know it's a risk regardless, so you do want to risk having him go to the Dodgers, be really good, and make the Dodgers just about unstoppable and really hard for the Mets to beat. And then you can subscribe, makes my day. I really appreciate all the support I get from every one of you guys. Love talking to you guys in the comment section. So let's talk about this Yamamoto trade. Now, in order for the Mets to make room for Yamamoto, because their 40-man roster is pretty full, they had to DFA Rafael Garcia. And Rafael Garcia, he's very young, switch hitter. Mets claimed him from the Chicago Cubs. The last time Garcia played in 2019, he had a 208 average with the Cubs, only 5 home runs in 30 games. So Garcia's not a big-time player, but you always like having a nice little switch hitter that could play multiple positions in the infield, provide some value as far as how you could be versatile during the course of a game and during the course of a long season. Now, I don't really see Garcia making the New York Mets team. I feel like that's Luis Guillorme's role, being the pretty much utility guy for this team. And I feel that Yamamoto could definitely have more of an impact than Garcia, especially following the trade of Steven Matz. The New York Mets have clearly made it a priority in this offseason, which I think is really smart, to add more pitching depth. We've seen that with multiple different moves the Mets have made throughout the course of this offseason, getting guys like Jerad Eickhoff, the trade for Joey Lucchesi, even the trade for Matz. They were able to get bullpen depth more so in that deal, and now with this trade for Jordan Yamamoto, the Mets keep trying to get more pitchers. And in a long season, and with COVID being a factor and having players be out and maybe contact tracing, you're going to need more guys. If there's going to be a lot of double headers again, or a lot of weird things with the season, you're going to need more pitchers. What's really interesting about Yamamoto is that when you look at his career, in 2019, when he came up, he was doing really well. Yamamoto had back-to-back starts against the St. Louis Cardinals where he went 7 innings and wasn't giving up runs, and you're like, wow, this guy has quite the start to his career. And even throughout the month of June where he first came up, he was still doing well. Good starts against the Phillies, a good start against the Braves at the beginning of July, but then as the year progressed, he got worse and worse. And by the end of the year, his only other good start he had was, of course, against the Mets in Citi Field. As if Yamamoto progressively getting worse in 2019 wasn't bad enough, he followed it up with an even worse 2020, capped off with a very bad start against the Atlanta Braves, going 2 2/3 innings, giving up 12 runs. Following that start against the Braves, Yamamoto finished the 2020 season with the 18.26 ERA, and you're like, that is not what the Mets need, a guy with the 18 ERA. But a couple of good things about Yamamoto is, number one, he's 24 years old, so he does have plenty of time to still fully develop and become a better pitcher. Number two, he has a minor league option, so the Mets don't have to have him on the major league roster. You can see how he does in spring training, assuming that there is a spring training, maybe battle with Jerad Eickhoff, maybe battle with Joey Lucchesi, or any other starting pitchers the Mets decide to bring in. If Yamamoto is like, alright, not great, not terrible, you can just put him in the minor leagues for now and then call him up when you need him. In those weird instances where there is a doubleheader, where a starting pitcher needs to be scratched for a couple of weeks, Yamamoto could fill in. You know, Jerad Eickhoff could fit in. All these guys that the New York Mets have gotten during the course of the offseason, they could use them at those particular times. This definitely was a good move for the Mets, because to me, you can never have enough pitching depth. So I like this move. Now let's talk about Bauer. Craig Carter on WFAN said that he believes that what's going on right now is that the New York Mets have a 3-year offer on the table for Trevor Bauer, and Bauer's camp is looking for a 4-year deal. So he believes that what's really separating a deal happening or not happening is that extra year. I find this pretty fascinating, because a 3-year deal is pretty good, because we know that Bauer is inconsistent. So let's say he's bad in the first year, he could be really good in the second year. So I feel like 3 years, you're not committed too long term to where, you know, 5 years, not 6 years, now you're like, oh my gosh, we still have Bauer. 3 years is around where I would want to go. Obviously, Bauer is looking for 1 more year, 4 years. That definitely would be pushing it. But I think that the Mets, the best case scenario, would try to be playing the opt-out after like every year. I feel like having multiple opt-outs would really help maybe getting the 3-year deal done. One of the things I've been thinking about with the Mets lately is that if your only real competition is the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Dodgers are closer to the luxury tax than you, why would you overpay for Bauer? As much as I want Trevor Bauer, I don't understand why you would overpay for him if you don't have another team offering a crazy amount of money. Because if the Mets could somehow get Bauer under that $35 million, like let's say around $30, $31 million, that would be a nice deal, because then the Mets still have a few million left over, whether they wanted to get another center fielder for a defensive replacement, or if they want to add another bullpen arm really cheap, they would still have the ability to do that while staying under the luxury tax. I think the fact that the Mets are interested in moving Jeurys Familia's contract, moving De La Betances' contract, really means that the Mets could either do two things. Number one, they could give Bauer what he's looking for, which is above $35 million. So, I mean, to be able to get that done, still stay under the tax. Or the Mets could do, hopefully stay under $35 million, and with that extra money gives you a little more room for extensions, because the thing about somebody like Francisco Lindor is that he's going to be making $21 million this year regardless. So if you add, let's say, another $14 million to his contract, make it $35 million a year, just as an example, you really only need $14 million in cap space. You only need $35 in cap space. Now, moving Betances and Familia's contract will not be easy. I mean, we saw that with the Yankees when they traded away Adam Ottavino. They had to attach a prospect. It wasn't a top 10 prospect, but you still had to get rid of somebody. It definitely would help out the Mets, not only if it was for Bauer, but just in general. If it was Jackie Bradley, or if it was making more extensions or adding to other areas, Taijuan Walker, whatever the Mets want to do, you would have a lot more flexibility if you can get Betances' contract and Jeurys Familia's contract off the books. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, if Kirk Carnes' report is true, I mean, will Bauer go to 3 or will the Mets go to 4? Are they able to move these other contracts? We'll see what they do, but it definitely is very exciting. I want to know what you guys think about all this news. And until the next one, be safe with all that snow out there. Be smart with all that snow out there. Be healthy with this pandemic going on. And have a good one, everyone. Let's go, Mets.